Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show getting underway for another day. Hello, good afternoon. May I be the first to say it? It is 12:05. Happy to have you with us on this Monday, February the 12th, 2024. Gentlemen, 2 more days until you have an obligatory shopping trip to take for your wife. 2 more days until you have to go and buy the flowers. And I know you've not been thinking about this because the manly sport of football has concluded as the Super Bowl wrapped up last evening with an overtime victory for the Kansas City Chiefs. But, yes, only 2 more. Today, tomorrow, 2.5, 3 more shopping days. This is the beginning of this is an event that I celebrate on an annual basis, and that is it's my annual trip to Publix to watch the poor leches at 4:30 in the afternoon stand in line with their flowers and their candies. And I think if you'd only prepared a little bit before, you'd be all right. All right, so Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We have lots to get into on this Monday edition. I'm happy that you've decided to be with us. I hope that I can use my God-given abilities to keep you here until at least 3 o'clock when I hand the baton to Brian Wilson and the drive from 3 until 7 this afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is our episode 509 of the proceedings today. We thank you for being a part of those. 509, and they said it wouldn't last on this Monday, February 12th. Let me tell you how you can view or listen to the radio show, and then we'll get things lumbering under our own weight. You may do so by dialing up the radio station. You're probably listening to that right now. Most of you are, 99.7 FM. You can also find us on a streaming app of your choosing. Wherever you stream music or information, you can stream Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Just download us. You can also download our own app. We have it right there, available for you, and you can take us wherever you go on your smartphone, your laptop, or whatever. And then there's Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Super Talk TV is a valuable asset to our growing community of listeners, and I appreciate that. I appreciate those of you who suffer through watching me on television as you recognize why I've been on radio all of my adult life and not on TV. Headless Bell refuses to participate in Super Talk TV, which is why we call him Headless Bell. But he does participate in as much as he gives it a title every day. And today's episode 509 is entitled
Matt Murphy. Ask about his new Taylor Swift Travis Kelce tattoo.
I got one.
Yeah. Right on your tush.
No subtitles because they made him stop. But it is the Libertarian Lunch right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I asked you this right before we went on air, but I'll do it again for the edification and amusement of the listening audience. How much of that game did you watch last night there, Bell?
0.
No, none of the game.
No.
You did keep up, though.
Oh, yeah. I really wanted the Chiefs to win because I wanted Mac to be happy. Because, see, I'm not a complete selfish bastard. I do want other people to enjoy their lives also. And I realized that most of the time when I watch the Super Bowl, the team I root for loses. And I had already expressed that I wanted them to win, so I figured I would at least try to give them a fighting chance by not watching.
Mm-hmm.
But I did keep up with it. I was constantly Googling to see what the score was.
You were Googling yourself during the Super Bowl? I mean, well, you were Googling others. You were Googling. So did you mention did you see the Travis Kelce screaming and yelling and pushing on his coach?
I saw that on Twitter, which I thought that was
an odd look.
It was obviously driven by passion, but at some point your passion is turning you into an ass.
Yeah, I mean, it's a step too far. I know that you're not going to because he's one of the best players on your team, but I would have loved to have seen Andy Reid sit his ass down for a couple of minutes. At least, for enough time for us to recognize that he was doing that because of that.
It was bad enough that he screamed in his face like that, but he almost knocked him over.
Yeah,
too.
He didn't see him coming, and he pushed him down, or he kind of pushed him over, or he didn't anticipate what was coming. It was one of the reasons that I eventually found myself rooting against the Chiefs. I went into it kind of neutral, not knowing where my emotions would lead me. And then
Which in and of itself just shows you're a horrible person for not supporting our own McMorey.
Yeah, I support him in a lot of different ways. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I supported him by giving him cheese dip and delicious crackers.
That was actually Erica.
Well, I understand. I paid for them. Somewhat, somehow. I participated somehow. Wendy says Bell K's cats wanted to change the channel. That's probably true. And then 5284 starts the show off the right way. This is exactly where I wanted to start. Is Matt defending that effing NFL that mocked Jesus Christ? I'm not making that sentence up. That sentence just happened. This person is so upset that at the suggestion that the NFL mocked Jesus, that they're using the F-bomb to express how upset they are about the mocking of Jesus.
I mean, if you're going to put that on somebody, that probably should be CBS you put that on,
well,
not the NFL.
The NFL has nothing, absolutely zero to do. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to hate the NFL, and I don't begrudge any of you any of them. But one of the reasons to hate the NFL is not the he gets us ad, which I actually looked up. I'm trying to figure out where these people are getting their money, and it's very difficult to do. Now, I don't have an opinion about the ad. I don't care
How much were
about
they?
the ad.
$7 million a pop?
Yeah, something along those lines. For a 30-second one, so I think that was a minute ad. I might be mistaken. So 30 seconds, $7 million a minute, one would presume would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $14 million. The He Gets Us is an ad that's causing a lot of controversy. I don't get my religious beliefs from a advertisement during the Super Bowl, and I certainly hope you don't either. I also don't question the motivations of individuals that I don't know who these individuals are, and I certainly hope you don't either. It seems that there's a lot of that going on. But here's the upshot. There have been 58 of these now. One of my favorite activities is to watch how many people get outraged over everything about the Super Bowl. And every year, well in excess of 100 million people watch the Super Bowl. A lot of you apparently watch the Super Bowl just to get pissed off about it. And I cannot understand why you do that. I do not get it. 4540, I'll answer your question in just a moment. 4540 wants to know, how did they mock Jesus? I'll explain the controversy I'm not in it. My name's Bennett. I'm not in it. I'm not getting in it. I don't want to get into a I'm not prepared to get into a theological or religious discussion about what is appropriate in terms of washing feet versus not washing feet. Jesus washed the feet of the disciples. He didn't wash everybody's feet. It seems to me, not that I care that much about it, but it seems to me that in this group's effort to get more people interested in faith and Jesus Christ, they're kind of sanitizing a lot of what went down in the Bible, to the point that it feels like they're trying to make Jesus cool and hip and modern. And in as much as he's cool and hip and modern, it's cool if you break all of these rules. It's cool if you sin. It's all good. Jesus will love you anyway. Hey, I'm not perfect, just forgiven. That kind of attitude. Like the phrase "not perfect, just forgiven" is not a free pass. There was a quote unquote youth pastor in Birmingham, Alabama, that I went after, Heidi Campbell style, we'll call it. I went after him Heidi Campbell style over his so-called church. Eventually, this guy was arrested for a number of crimes, including impersonating a police officer. And so he got his just worldly comeuppance. But he loved the phrase "not perfect, just forgiven." And he used it. When he was arrested for impersonating a police officer, that's what he said. "Not perfect, just forgiven." And I'm like, are you using this like a get-out-of-jail-free card? Is this a hall pass for you? I don't think that means what you think it means, that you get to sin all you want to sin. You get to do whatever you want to do. And then when people call you out on it, you go, "Hey, not perfect, just forgiven." Well, I don't know that the laws of the state of Alabama or the laws of the state of Tennessee apply here when it comes to forgiveness when you are found to be in violation of the law. Anyway, I feel like they're watering down the He Gets Us people, are watering down the teachings of Jesus Christ and only focusing on the kindness and the love, and not focusing on, there's some rules that you are expected to abide by with regard to the Christian faith. Anyway, didn't mean to get into all of that. So it's a story that I've loved telling. This is what I will say about all of this. I mean, there's far more important things to discuss on the show today, and we will. However, I am fascinated, and I'm picking on Chris a little bit, so I admit that. And I love Chris Hand. I love my teammates, all of my teammates, from Dan Mandis to Hand to Brian Wilson and all of the rest of the folks, Johnny. I mean, everybody that makes this radio station what it is. It is that family atmosphere that I think makes the radio station special, and it's the different characters and our different ways of thinking and our different lifestyles and all of those things that I think you put all of that into the mix, and it makes a great stew, if you will. So I love him, but I thought of this while I was listening to Chris, because Chris watched the Super Bowl and hated everything about it. He hates the NFL, he hates the commercials, he hates the halftime show, and it reminded me of a story that I've told many times on the air, and that's the story of a guy's walking down the street, and he looks down an alleyway as he's walking down the street. There's a couple of buildings, brick buildings on the alleyway, and there's dumpsters and whatnot, the type that we have seen many times in downtown Nashville. And he sees this little kid, looks to be about, 9 or 10 years old, this little kid. And this little kid is facing one of the walls in the alleyway and just is hitting his head against the wall, I mean, his head's got like blood on it. He's just hit. And the guy's like, oh, my goodness, what's going on here? And the guy runs over there, and he grabs the kid, and he turns the kid around. And he says, little kid, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And the kid says, because it feels so good when I stop. If you hate it so much, why are you watching it? Do you not know what you're going to get by now? Just turn it off. And oh, by the way, for you lovers of nostalgia, your parents had problems with the crap that was going on when you were a kid too. And their parents had problems with the crap that was going on when they were kids too. Now, I'm not saying the world's not accelerating and driving itself toward that hell in a handbasket that we've talked about these many years. I get that. I understand that the world seems to be a lot different than it was even 5 years ago. But the Super Bowl really doesn't seem to have changed. There's football, and there's commercials, and there's a halftime show that I've never cared about. I am as lost as can be when it comes to analyzing halftime shows. Oh, this halftime show was awful. That halftime show was great. That halftime show was awesome. That halftime show really brought the heat. That halftime show was ridiculous, and it was lewd. And I think it's because I've never been a fan of watching live musical performance on television anyway. I think it loses so much. If you want to watch live musical performance, go and watch it actually live in person and put your phone down when you do it. That said, the halftime show for me, for Matt Murphy, has always been an opportunity to go to the bathroom, because you don't get to do that during the commercials, during the Super Bowl, because some of the commercials are pretty good, and to restock on whatever food you happen to be eating at your Super Bowl buffet. So I have no idea. The wife tells me that it was pretty good. Did I see some of it? Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, I saw some of it. I don't hate it, and I don't hate on it, and I don't think anything of it either. It is one of those rare occurrences, and for those of you who have known me for some time now, you know this is a rare occurrence. One of those rare occurrences where I don't really give a rip about the halftime show. I'm not hating on it. I'm not loving on it. I'm completely, if it did not exist, it would be fine with me. The fact that it does exist is fine with me. I'm just amazed at the number of people that sit around waiting to hate on everything about the Super Bowl. Then why in the hell are you watching to begin with? .0036, halftime show should have been a Toby Keith tribute. That would have been the best one ever. You see, and this is what the haters would have done with that. And 0036, I love Toby Keith, one of my favorites. And we lost a great one way too soon at the age of 62. But I promise you, there would have been plenty of people hating on that too. Oh, that guy glorified drinking with the red Solo cup. That guy glorified cheating with I ain't as good as I once was.
They're bringing me down with this dead guy tribute.
Right. I mean, there's always something. So, all of that to say, if you made me, I would tell you this. I thought if you're a fan of football and you were not a fan of that game, I don't know what to tell you. I really was unaffiliated in terms of my allegiance. And what I do is, if I'm unaffiliated, if I don't really care one way or the other, and I understand that Mac Morey's a big fan of the Chiefs, and I want Mac to be happy and all of those things, but I go into the game, and I used to try to figure out who I was rooting for before the game happened, and I realized that was a fool's errand. You get to the game, and you let the game wash over you, and then natural allegiances will come about. At least for me, that's how I do it. So I was already kind of a fan of Andy Reid, so I was leaning that way, but then the Travis Kelce thing happened. I'm like, what a jerk. That guy should be sat down. And I knew that Brock Purdy was a Christian man, and I knew how much the powers that be on the networks would really, really hate a speech by Brock Purdy where he thanked first and foremost Jesus Christ. So I liked that idea. And so I kind of led myself down. But it was a great game. I mean, overtime, come on. What are you talking about? Overtime in a Super Bowl?
Usually Super Bowls are just lopsided, boring. I mean, this was a true battle between those teams.
No, it was a heavyweight battle that wasn't decided till the final play. That's great stuff. As far as the commercials go, there were some good ones. I think they largely stayed out of any sort of I mean, I guess there was one Bud Light commercial that fell a little flat. The Budweiser commercial harkened back to the Clydesdales. That was pretty good. If I had to rank them, this is my ranking. Top 5 Matt Murphy commercials. Arnold Schwarzenegger State Farm commercial I thought was tip-top. You like a good neighbor. Arnold, it's neighbor. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, neighbor. It's neighbor. Get me out of this chopper. Very funny. Number 2, Pluto TV couch potatoes. I don't know what it was about that. I thought the concept was great. Pluto TV grows couch potatoes, Bell, in big fields, and there's people dressed up like. Did you see this commercial?
No, I did not.
There's people. You need to look it up. I think it's funny. There's people dressed like big potatoes sitting on couches in these huge fields with all these TVs in front of them.
Okay.
And the guy's talking about when we first started this couch potato farm, my daddy had to use a radio. Right, so it's like how far the advancement in growing couch potatoes has gone. It's very, very funny.
You have to look that up.
I thought the Dunkin' Donuts was fine. I mean, Ben Affleck and J-Lo and Matt Damon. That's number 3 on my list. I am a huge fan of Christopher Walken. So anything featuring Christopher Walken, I'm already all in. And so the BMW commercial where everybody has an Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation and everybody has a Christopher Walken impersonation. And this was a riff on the fact that Christopher Walken, it's Christopher Walken, Walken Snacks. Yeah, I'm getting into my BMW, driving. There's me doing my Christopher Walken impersonation, as bad as it might be. And then the Uber Eats. Uber Eats was pretty funny. Jelly Roll was in Uber Eats. And it was fun.
That was brilliant. I'm a huge Friends fan, and I love seeing the Schwimmer and Aniston working together again. But the Jelly Roll part of that spot was just beyond hilarious.
It was good. It was good stuff. Yeah, I mean, no, somebody doodled on my face.
It's not coming off.
It's not coming off. That's funny. Oh, but my favorite, by far, my favorite part of the night was social media explaining to me that all of this was rigged by Taylor Swift. Or someone. That it was some sort of, I don't know who rigged it. I can't figure it out. 1385 says, I went to bed at halftime. I told my wife the exact ending. Last second TD by the Chiefs. It's rigged. And 1385, I'm willing to listen. Just tell me who's rigging it. Who's doing the rigging? That's all I want to know. And I want to thank all of you for your appreciation of my Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation. Get to the job. Do it. It's not a tumor. That wasn't supposed to be.
They were all bad.
Yes, but they were all very bad. It's 12:25, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for Nashville Safe House. So are you protecting those things that protect you and your family? I'm talking about your Second Amendment rights, and I'm talking about a gun safe from the Safe House right on 4th Avenue South in Nashville. Let's discuss. Mark at the Safe House, it's what he does. You know, when we walked through his showroom for the first time, I was amazed at the number of safes I was seeing. I mean, hundreds, literally hundreds in the showroom available for your perusal on a day-to-day basis. And I looked at Mark and I said, I've never seen so many safes. And you know what Mark told me? He said, I got about twice this many in my warehouse. What? Are you kidding me? No. He's not kidding you. He has a safe for you. He believes in keeping these things in stock so he can get them delivered and installed by a professional to your home very quickly. It's Mark at the Safe House, and he wants to see you, whether it's a gun safe, a jewelry safe, a corporate safe, something to protect your valuables, whatever you're protecting from theft or fire, you need to do it at Nashville Safe House. Start your journey by going to the website, NashvilleSafeHouse.com. That's NashvilleSafeHouse.com. And then finish it by going over to 4th Avenue South, right across the street from City Cemetery, and tell him that Matt Murphy sent you in to Nashville Safe House. I'm working my best to become the employee of the year. Right now it's Joe Biden for reasons that Mark will explain to you, but I'm working hard. NashvilleSafeHouse.com. 1230 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. This is the last thing I'll say about it because this escalated quickly with 5284, who wrote in, is Matt defending the effing NFL that mocked Jesus Christ? I sure hope I didn't hear that. Glad Chris is on their side, the side of morals and God. And then I responded to a little bit of that, saying I find it ironic that you're throwing an F-bomb out there when you're talking about Jesus Christ. And that answers my question. Just cover your eyes on mocking Christ like it didn't happen and stay a fan of the NFL. Mock Christ. They burn our flag and back pigs in a blanket. Okay, enjoy your Bud Light, spineless Republicans. Okay, there's so many things wrong with that statement. I've never claimed to be a Republican, ever. I have never drank Bud Light, ever. Long before, when all of you people were drinking your weak puppy pee beer, I was not, okay? So I didn't like Bud Light before they became woke, whatever. I don't know what pigs in a blanket mean, although I like pigs in a blanket, I will admit. Delicious. Put a little mustard on there. Anyway, Bell responded to the super texter by saying the NFL doesn't sell ad time. Your anger should be directed at CBS sales, which is absolutely correct. If your frustration is that the He Gets Us ad was presented. I mean, and by the way, how 5284, before you go listen to something else, which is where this is going, tell me, how did you know about that ad to begin with? Did you just hear about it on the radio? Have you seen the ad yourself? Were you watching? Because it seems to me that maybe everything I'm saying applies to you. Why are you watching this garbage if it doesn't reflect your values? If you've decided personally that this doesn't reflect, that is your right as an American. You have the right to turn the television off. You have the right to throw your TV away if that is where you want. And I promise you, what the consumers want, the consumers are going to get. TB writes in, have a Zima like a real man. TB, thank you. That's a long-time listener. That's a guy that has kept up with my career over the years because he knows what I really love. Anyway, and the 5284 continues, okay, forget about Christ. We push him to the side anyway. It's insane to think these so-called Americans can still back the NFL after the kneeling of our anthem, making one only for blacks, pushing the killing of cops, crapping on our veterans. I vote R, but they are the weakest people in the country, no backbone. Keep giving views and radio time to an organization that hates you, me, our values, and our God. I'm going to Bud Light this show. At some point, we have to make a stand and say enough. I'll be listening to Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro Monday through Friday from noon until Brian gets on. Sorry you feel that way, 5284. 5284 said, I was sent a link. I didn't watch the game. I saw a clip on social media. Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm not mocking anybody. I'm opening up a discussion that you're taking part in. That's what American society is all about, freedom of a freedom with your ability to express your viewpoint in any manner of your choosing. And if you choose to listen to Mark Levin or Ben Shapiro, we appreciate you supporting Cumulus Nashville and Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And I hope to have you back very soon. Take care. I love you. It's 1234 on Super Talk. United Structural Systems is a foundation repair and waterproofing company that has served Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama since 1994. 30 full years, friends, and over 25,000 satisfied customers. 25,000 people just like you that made a call that you've been thinking of making to protect your home, your number one investment in your life. when it comes to symptoms of foundation repair or symptoms of waterproofing needs, let's talk about that for a moment, because some of the symptoms are, for example, standing water in crawl spaces. I mean, that one's pretty obvious, but even that musty odor, floor joists with wood rot, cracks in your basement floors, or maybe bricks that are cracking, walls that are bowing, doors and windows that are sticking. If these things are happening in your home, you owe yourself a call to USS, United Structural Systems. They are simply the best when it comes to home repair, and I encourage you to make the call that so many others have made to USS. USSTN.com for more information. That's USSTN.com. Great website there, and you can call and answer. They'll be happy to answer any of your questions that you might have. 615-488-7855. 488-7855. They guarantee their best. It's the one and only USS, United Structural Systems. Man, oh man, a lot of hot takes on the Super Text line today. A lot of hot takes. I had some hot takes last night on the Super Bowl myself. I had several of those going on. It is 12:39, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Number one on my list of things to discuss today was not the Super Bowl, although we spent a little time doing that. Look, once again, I don't understand why people would voluntarily go back again and again and again to expose themselves as something that they claim to hate. Just don't watch it. Just don't watch it. And there's so many people that like 5284 that are wanting to express their opinion, and they start off by saying, well, I didn't watch any of it. However, here's my opinion on it. Well, that's an interesting take. I mean, that's an interesting deal. That's an interesting way to go. I mean, I don't begrudge you going that direction. I think that's a hard row to hoe if that's where you're going with it. But number one on my list to talk about, Joe Biden and the terrible, awful truth, is what I called it. Number one on my list, Joe Biden and the terrible, awful truth. Because the mainstream media reported the truth when some of this first came out regarding where he is mentally, where we know him to be mentally, where we know all of this is going over the next several months and several years with Joe Biden. The media made a mistake, in their opinion, by reporting the truth for a hot minute last week. Once the Department of Justice special prosecutor report came out, for just a brief second, until they got their footing under them, the media reported the truth. And the truth is this. The prosecutor decided not to prosecute the case because Joe Biden is an old man who can't remember things. Pardon me, I just sneezed. Those of you watching on Super Talk TV saw that. It was violent. And there's nothing in my hand, for those of you wondering. The terrible, awful truth is obvious to those of us willing to watch and willing to listen. I'm going to play you, coming up next hour, 5 minutes, and I think it's important, 5 minutes of Joe Biden over the last couple of years. 5 minutes of your president of the United States, a guy that we used to call the leader of the free world, and I don't know that we can do that anymore. And for a brief moment, the media did not have their footing underneath them. They did not know what direction to go in the aftermath of the report. It was, to them, because these are leftist media outlets that want to do the bidding of the Democrat Party and Joe Biden by extension, they, for a moment, thought to themselves, well, this is good news because Biden will not be charged with anything, so we can put all of this behind us leading up to the presidential election. However, as they began to dig deeper, they saw the reasoning behind the prosecutorial decision not to move forward with the case, which, by the way, was garbage to begin with. You don't make decisions based on whether someone violated the law based on what you think about their mental ability to defend themselves. I mean, I could cite you example after example after example of how that's not the way we do things in our system of justice, or really any system of real justice. Those that the easiest example, those that perpetuated the crimes in Nazi Germany in the concentration camps did not escape punishment because they didn't get caught till they were 85 or 90 years old and couldn't really remember what they did or did not do. The evidence laid out regarding their guilt or innocence was adjudicated by a jury of their peers and determined on based on that evidence, not based on how old and infirm these people were. Now, Joe Biden's not accused of that sort of thing, but he is accused of wrongdoing that he obviously engaged in, and the prosecutor decided not to do anything with it. So the media was left a little bit flat-footed because they did not know how to react, and for a moment, about a 24-hour period, they actually reported the truth, that Joe Biden is mentally unable to continue. They didn't say it this way, but this is what they reported, that Joe Biden is mentally unable to continue as president of the United States of America. Fascinating. But now they've got their footing underneath them. Now they have figured out the spin regarding Joe Biden and his physical and mental diminishment. The Robert Hur report on his mishandling of classified documents underlined his reduced abilities. And if he cannot defend himself in a court of law, why in the hell would we allow him to continue to be president of the United States? Robert Hur and his team concluded that a jury would consider Biden, quote, a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Anyone who's observed Joe Biden over the last several years would agree with this statement, even the political left. So they were left a bit flat-footed until they got their footing underneath them, and they decided that in this case, the special prosecutor was out of his depth. In this case, the special prosecutor was compromised. In this case, we're going to go after the special prosecutor. We're not going to talk about or defend the sanctity of the Department of Justice. We're not going to defend the sanctity of the deep state, as they have done all along during the Trump nonsense, and not just the Trump classified document nonsense, all of it. All of it. These institutions that have been steadfastly defended by MSNBC and CNN and the Washington Post and the New York Times and all of these other garbage leftist outlets, these same media institutions who for years defended the integrity of the Justice Department, is now deciding that they're going to attack it because the Justice Department made a conclusion that they don't like. Now, it's not as if the Justice Department decided to go after Joe Biden. They decided quite the opposite, but they didn't like their reasoning behind it. Well, what did you expect them to say? The man is guilty of what he's been accused of doing. That was the conclusion. Were they to ignore the evidence? Yes. The left has outed themselves in a way. The media, and we already know this, they've outed themselves as sycophants for the Democrats, as a propaganda machine for the political left. They don't like the conclusion. What would you have preferred? So think about this for a moment. The media they don't want Joe Biden prosecuted for doing what Donald Trump did, which they want Trump prosecuted for. And what Obama did, and what Mike Pence did, and what Clinton did, and every other president in the history of mankind since the National Archives came into existence. Presidents have taken items that they probably should not have taken, and we overclassify crap all the time and whatever. Think about this lack of logic, though. So the left, they don't like the idea that Joe Biden would be prosecuted, and so that's off the table. Well, what was the special prosecutor supposed to do? Not give a reason at all? They say, well, this was untoward. This is awful. You know, his justification for not prosecuting Joe Biden is that he was an elderly man with a bad memory. Well, what was he supposed to say? He's guilty, but I'm just not going to do it? You have to have a reason if the evidence is overwhelming. In this case, it is that Joe Biden engaged in the illegal activity that he is accused of engaging in. Then the prosecutor has to give us a justified reason as to why he's not prosecuting the case. And in this case, the only reason that he could find was that Joe Biden was too old, feeble, and infirm to prosecute. But that wasn't good enough for the mainstream media either. The mainstream media hated that idea. Oh, that's awful. That's horrible. He shouldn't have said that. And I heard it over and over again this weekend on MSNBC with old Talkie Joe and his wife or whatever she is. On, CNN, hashtag never CNN. Don't watch this garbage network. I'll watch so you don't have to. On all of these media outlets, they're over and over again. Well, he shouldn't have said all that. Well, what was he supposed to say? What was he supposed to say? What was the prosecutor supposed to give as his justified reason for not prosecuting Joe Biden? Or did you want him to prosecute Joe Biden based on the evidence? Tell me which way you want to go, liberal media. No, you literally, not literally, I almost did something I hate. You figuratively wanted your cake and eat it too. You wanted Joe Biden not to get prosecuted, but you didn't want him to tell the reasons to the American public as to why he wasn't prosecuting Joe Biden. Are y'all feeling me right now? How they want it both ways? And for just a brief moment, they didn't know how to act, and now they have their spin. That the prosecutor was compromised, that the prosecutor was a Trump holdover, that all of this was corrupt from the day. So finally now the Department of Justice is corrupt when things don't go your way. I see how that goes. Yeah, that was number one on my list. Number two on my list today, Donald Trump can make mistakes. I'll tell you what I mean by that in just a moment. Plus, we might have a special guest coming up in just a couple of minutes. A very, very, very special guest during our Libertarian Lunchtime Hour on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. It's 12:49 on Supertalk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Let's talk a moment about Kraft Body Scan and what they're doing for the month of February. February is American Heart Month. It's also the month of love. And I want to show the loved one how much you actually love them with a $99 heart and lung scan for you and your partner at Kraft Body Scan. What an incredible deal. $99 for that heart and lung scan? Kraft Body Scan is dedicated to finding and detecting early issues involving you, your heart, and your lungs. You can have that preventative health care that you've wanted with Kraft Body Scan and their CT scan technology. And in the month of February, they have a $99 special going. This is almost a $3,000 value that you're going to get for $99 for you and a loved one. That's what it's all about, friends. But you need to call today to go ahead and schedule that appointment for the month of February, 615-436-1000, 615-436-1000, or go to craftbodyscan.com. That's craftbodyscan.com. And when you go, tell them Matt Murphy sent you and check out that full body scan. I've done that, and I absolutely love it. But right now, that big $99 special is going on right now at Kraft Body Scan. Coming up in hour number 2, a Hispanic pro-Hamas terrorist man who identifies as a female has been accused of shooting up a church in Houston, and somehow it's not on any of the major networks. We'll talk about it next hour on Super Talk 99.7 WGN. I can't imagine why. But we right now have on the line the interview that everyone has been trying to capture today. This is the interview of the day after the Super Bowl. And I don't know, everybody's been trying to get it.
Mahomes?
Somehow we scored it. I don't know how we got it.
Andy Reid.
But we've got it. It's not any of those people, but probably fourth on that list is Mac Morey. Yes! We got it! Woo! What's up, buddy?
Murphy, I'd be remiss if I did not start this professional radio hit with a quick, yeah, let's go Chiefs!
I like that. I like that, especially because it sounds like you're in a bathroom or a sauna somewhere. So I want to start this by saying that this is not – I think I was just the beneficiary of the time that you woke up today. I know that Hand was perhaps trying to get you. Everybody wanted a little piece of Mac Morey today, but we managed to snag him. What time did you get up this morning, Mac Morey? That's the big question.
Right around the time that your cross was happening is probably the time I started to open my little eyes.
And how bad was the hangover?
I'm currently consuming lots of electrolytes. When you go to bed, right when Dan Mandis is starting to get ready to go on air, that's maybe not the best. So maybe I just needed a couple hours of sleep.
So tell me, did you ever lose hope?
No. I was definitely down, definitely.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt your answer, but everybody, like even E, who was rooting for the Chiefs all throughout the game because she loves you, and I gravitated toward the 49ers. It just happened, no offense, and I just have to be honest. But she was like rooting, and she was like, "Oh, we're losing." I'm like, E, you're down by 7 points. The best quarterback in the game's on the other side of the football. Everybody's like, the 49ers. And I'm like, well, guys, I don't know. Have y'all seen this team?
This is what they do. Patrick Mahomes now 3 Super Bowl wins. Each time was down double digits. No one else has done that more than once. He's done it now 3 times. It's incredible, just the inevitability of it. It just feels like every time he's able to do it.
Well, we just wanted to congratulate you. I don't want to spend too much time of your day off. We'll talk in depth a little more tomorrow.
Yes.
We'll get into there's plenty of time for me to slam you about Travis Kelce. We'll do that tomorrow. Today,
the first thing I thought of when I saw it, I said, "Oh no, Murphy's going to be upset about this."
Celebrate your victory. All right, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, man.
All right, there's my man, Mac Morey. He answered the phone. I can't believe it. Just woke up. Good for him. Good victory for him. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Stand by.
From ABC News, I'm Daria Albinger. Former President Trump in a Florida courtroom today. He's there for a hearing in the case, which accuses him of illegally keeping classified documents.
The judge has ruled some of it must be made public, but special counsel Jack Smith is here trying to convince her to reconsider, arguing that would expose witnesses to significant and immediate risks of threats, intimidation, and harassment.
ABC's Aaron Katersky outside the federal courthouse in Fort Pierce, Florida. In Georgia, a hearing is underway in the case of an alleged conflict of interest in Mr. Trump's election interference case.
The hearing by a judge in Fulton County, Georgia, will consider whether local DA Fonnie Willis and her staff should have to testify under oath about claims she's having a romantic relationship with her special prosecutor in the Trump election interference case, Nathan Wade. One of the co-defendants in the Trump case has alleged Willis and Wade took lavish trips with money Willis pays Wade as a special prosecutor, thereby creating a conflict of interest. Willis and Wade have disputed those claims. Trump lawyers want the pair disqualified from the former president's proceedings. Derek Dennis, ABC News.
President Biden calls out the former president's role in a failed Senate border bill.
The MAGA Republicans, a minority, but a powerful minority, they went out and they killed the deal. My predecessor said he didn't like it. It was a loss for him. We have to end the political games, folks.
Mr. Biden making the comments during an address to the National Association of Counties Legislative Conference in Washington. The FBI has joined the investigation into a shooting at a Houston megachurch, which left 2 wounded and the female shooter dead. Authorities say there was a message on the gun which was used in the shooting, which said Free Palestine. Schools in Boston and in New York City will be closed tomorrow ahead of an anticipated winter storm. Just before the hour, the Dow is up 197 points. You're listening to ABC News.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy. I want to talk to you guys in the listening audience for just a moment. Have you noticed hair loss over the years? Are you seeing it in your brush? Are you seeing it in the sink? And you feel like, well, this is just the way it goes. Don't be that guy. You know you can stop this. You know you can do something about it. And I'm here to tell you the best company available to you throughout the state of Tennessee is PAI Medical and the We Grow Hair folks. We Grow Hair is the only company in the state of Tennessee to have PAI's multi-unit hair grafting procedure. That means that they can give you more hair in one procedure in one sitting than anybody else in this community. And that saves you time and it saves you money. Nobody else has it. It's backed by the only company that I would trust to help your thinning hair, and that is PAI. Their hair transplant procedure is second to nobody. They've been in Nashville for over 26 years. They've been doing business for that length of time, and they want to talk with you. Trust me, your looks are too important. First impressions matter, folks. Find out why thousands of men have chosen We Grow Hair to restore their hair. We Grow Hair, I promise you, is right for you. And they're there for you before, during, and after your hair procedure. Check them out online at WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com. Or call 615-376-6010 for a private consultation. 615-376-6010 for We Grow Hair. We have an identification regarding the shooter at the Texas mega church run by Joel Osteen. I'll tell you the entire story coming up at some point this hour on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And I'll tell you why I do not anticipate that many in the mainstream media, primarily those aforementioned mainstream media networks that we were discussing last hour, like hashtag never CNN, don't watch CNN. CNN's a garbage network for the garbage people. Spewing garbage. I'll watch so you don't have to. But the rest of them too, ABC, CBS, NBC, all of the alphabet soups, they will not report on this because the modern transgender movement doesn't allow it. They don't allow it. The modern transgender movement is engaging in activity that is, whether intentional or not, radicalizing young people to the point that they're taking up arms and they're killing people. In Aberdeen, there was a mass shooting, transgender person. Colorado Springs, Colorado, non-binary. Denver, Colorado, transgender person. There was a case in Iowa in which someone who, I think they call themselves gender fluid. That happened a couple of months ago. And then, of course, right here in Nashville, Tennessee, it seems odd to me, and I don't know if you feel the same way or not. We'll talk about it. It seems odd to me, just odd, that there is so much dissection into what goes through the minds of the individuals responsible for these mass shootings in the United States of America until you reach a place of discomfort for those who are controlling the narrative within the mainstream media. When you reach that place of discomfort, all discussion stops. Oh, as long as it's a straight white male, oh, no problem. We'll talk about how they were influenced or corrupted by MAGA talk, how they were influenced or corrupted by, white nationalism or whatever it might be. That's on the table and fully acceptable. But when it comes to psychotropic drugs, the pharmaceutical industry, the transgender radicalization movement, those things are untouchable. You can't talk about those things. Watch as this story that happened over the weekend will fade into the woodwork because of the nature of the individual involved. Oh, by the way, they're also Hispanic, and the report that I saw was that this person was in the country illegally.
Did you mention the Pulse nightclub too? In Orlando?
I did not mention the Pulse nightclub.
That's another one. Fluid.
Yep, that's another one. I mean, on and on it goes. The list is getting lengthy enough that one would think that reasonable people would want to talk about some connective tissue between these issues, but no, not so much. Not so much. Before I get into that and before I get into Joe Biden, I do want to mention this. And I don't want to harp on it because I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I think it is worth highlighting as it occurred over the weekend. In the midst of the media trying to fumble and bumble their way through figuring out how to deal with Joe Biden and the ultimate decision-making on the part of the prosecutor in the Joe Biden case not to prosecute him because, Joe Biden doesn't know what the hell's going on, wouldn't know his butt from a hole in the ground, couldn't find it with a compass and a flashlight. In the midst of all of that, the media was fumbling and bumbling and wallowing over themselves, trying to figure out a way out of it. And they eventually did by attacking the prosecutor. Suddenly, our Department of Justice is corrupt. Suddenly, our Department of Justice doesn't know what they're doing. Suddenly, our Department of Justice is out of their depth. Suddenly, these hot takes were not good enough for the mainstream media. Suddenly. And we'll delve into the Joe Biden infirmity in a moment and talk to you about how difficult it is to even watch anymore and how the political left is figuring out, right? I promise you the powers that be are trying to figure this out. They don't think, let me give you my quick hot take on it. They don't think that they can skip Kamala Harris. But they know the political poison that is Kamala Harris. I hate to put it this way, but it is a fact. Kamala Harris does not have the excuse of mental infirmity. She's just not very smart. So we will we'll get into that in just a moment. What I said about Donald Trump over the weekend, I want to bring that up real quick because I think it's important. If you missed it, Donald Trump was at a rally over the weekend, and Donald Trump began questioning where Nikki Haley's husband was. Now, once again, this is not something that gets me off of my faith in Trump. It does not move me or shake me in any way as to who I am supporting in 2024. It's pretty obvious. I support the policies and I support the presidency of Donald J. Trump. I support the candidacy of Donald J. Trump. That does not mean that he does not do things that I have concern with. And I bring this up for two reasons. One, not so much to condemn Trump, but more so to reiterate to you that it's perfectly okay and acceptable to have disagreements with a sitting president or a candidate for president and still support that candidate. We can continue to support something broadly and at the same time suggest that some aspects of that thing could operate better. As I did over the weekend, I gave some examples because apparently some don't understand that. Because what I did after he did this, after Trump came out and questioned where Nikki Haley's husband was. And what this was at a campaign rally. And then, where's Nikki Haley? Where's her husband? Where's the husband? He's not around, is he? I don't know where the husband is. He's staying far away. He's staying far away, he said. This was, and I don't pretend to be inside of the mind of Donald Trump, but this was obviously a vague allusion to the infidelity claims that have been made about Nikki Haley. There is a claim that Nikki Haley has been unfaithful in her marriage. But most did not get the connective tissue. Most did not see past the fact that Nikki Haley's husband is serving in the United States military overseas. So you're handing a win to the mainstream media that desperately wants to talk not about Joe Biden, but wants to trash you. And that was my take on it, is that this is unnecessary because it is punching down. Nikki Haley is not a threat to Donald J. Trump. So what I said was, and I stand by what I said, is that I cannot for the life of me understand why Trump would steal the Joe Biden train wreck news cycle and replace it where's Nikki Haley's husband. Sometimes it's not 4D chess. Sometimes it's just dumb. And I think that's fair. And I got trashed for doing so. Because God forbid anybody have any disagreement with Donald Trump about anything.
You're being disloyal.
And I'm not being disloyal. As a matter of fact, I would suggest that my loyalty goes so far as I'm willing to call the baby ugly when the baby is clearly ugly. Which is what I did. But you can agree with the entire thing. You can support something broadly and still be frustrated by certain aspects of that thing. I support air travel, and I hate the TSA. I support car travel, and I wish that Nashville would fix the freaking potholes. Because I hate the potholes doesn't mean that I'm going to stay away from my car. I support Bloody Marys, but hate it when you put celery in it. Don't look at me funny. I'm an olive man. Or okra.
All right, that's acceptable.
Or okra. I support Gladys Knight, but I've never had anything for the Pips.
You need to shut your filthy mouth.
Well, I mean, I understand that there's a line that everybody has to draw in the sand. I do not understand why it's so difficult, and I'm going to bring this up, and trust me, it does me no favors when I do it, because people will not listen to what I'm saying. As the late, great Uncle Phil Valentine used to say, there are Van Goghs out there. I need you to hear the entirety of the argument. There are some that would suggest, oh, you're trashing on Trump. Or no, I'm trying to make him better. And I don't know why it's so hard for my fellow Trump supporters to accept that he is not perfect and that every so often he screws up. And that's fine. And I think this tack of going after Nikki Haley's husband or talking about, I think it's a mistake. Number one, Nikki Haley is zero threat to Donald Trump. She is 0.00% threat to Donald Trump. So you are by definition punching down. Number two, regardless of whatever vague point we're trying to make on this, whether it's infidelity or whatever, it sounds like you're going after somebody who is in the military. Plus, if there is a broader point to be made about infidelity, I don't know that that's where Donald Trump wants to go. Do you? I don't know of all of the things that he could criticize Nikki Haley over, I don't know that infidelity should be the one that he goes for. Okay? Number 3, you give the mainstream media a hall pass to stop talking negatively about your opponent, Joe Biden, which they desperately want to do. They want any story on the table that will give them an opportunity to stop talking about the Department of Justice, stop talking about the report, stop talking about his mental infirmity. And they want desperately to focus negative energy on you, and you're giving them an opportunity to do that. Number 4, you're also giving a free pass to what we discussed in the first hour, and that is the 2-tiered deep state Department of Justice that decides that one rules are for thee and one rules are for me. Joe Biden has one set of rules and another set for Donald Trump. None of this changes my support for Donald Trump, obviously. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I think, thankfully, it's been somewhat overshadowed by a lot of other things going on this weekend, including the Super Bowl, frankly. My fascination is more in how people react to observational comments by someone like me. And the suggestion, no matter how long I've been in Camp Trump, you know, I could walk you back to 2015 when I said 2 things. One of them was exactly right and one of them was exactly wrong. These are the first 2 things I said about the candidacy of Donald Trump. And I can chart it back to the day that I did it. I said, this guy is magnesium. He will burn brighter than any political figure in modern history, and he'll burn out. That was comment number 1. Half of that one was right. Half of it was completely wrong, obviously. And number 2, and this one was dead on, ignore this man at your own peril because he's going to change politics in the modern era. And that one was exactly right. But no matter how far I chart back my support for Trump, there are some Trump people that would tell you that any negative comment or any comment perceived as negative about our fearless leader is heresy. And so we no longer talk about whether or not it was a political misstep or a political mistake. Instead, we challenge my bona fides because I have a difference of opinion. And as I said on social media over the weekend, this is America. Don't act like a damn cult. We can disagree about a moment in time and still broadly support the man and the mission. And I will continue to do my part in that regard. It is 1:20. Coming up, 5 uninterrupted minutes of Joe Biden mentally unable to continue on a stage. You don't want to miss it. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy with a very special deal at the world-famous Glock store for the month of February. You know, February is all about you lovers. It's all about those loved ones that want to spend time together. And I get it, guys. Next couple of days, you'll be grabbing some flowers, grabbing some candy, because that's what's expected of you. But let's up our Valentine's Day game with a box of ammo. Not a box of chocolates, a box of ammunition. How about a beautiful bouquet of ammo from the world-famous Glock store? Or maybe a shooting session in a private room with a personal instructor from Shoot 270 at McGill's world-famous Glock store. How about that? Now, that's a Valentine's Day date that I can get behind, Shoot 270 style. All February long, even after the 14th, they are offering a couple's shoot for the price of one at shoot270.com. Now, what we're talking about, we're talking a private room, a personal instructor, you and your significant other, and you just book a 2-person private shooting session at shoot270.com. You show up, you have a great time, and you're going to pay for just one. And I've done these private sessions, folks. It is where I train at the world-famous Clock Store, and I know Dan Mandis does as well. And I heartily recommend utilizing their trainers and their shoot rooms as opposed to lanes to train. And now's a great time to do it with couples. So go to shoot270.com for more information. That's shoot270.com or glockstore.com, or stop by Airlane Drive just off of Elm Hill Pike. It's the world-famous Clock Store. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll get to the 5 uninterrupted minutes in a moment. Well, I say that I might make a comment or two. I'll try to limit them. I try not to make promises that I don't think I can keep. In the meantime, let's see. William's on the line. We'll get to you momentarily. Actually, I'll get to William first before I get to Joe Biden making a fool of himself in his Super Bowl deal. Hey, William. Hope you're well. How are you, sir?
How you doing today?
I'm well.
I agree with you that Donald Trump has done more good for this country in his first other term than any president I can remember.
Amen.
However, he does have a problem acting presidential and watching his mouth. He just gets into things he shouldn't get into. But
he does, like and I'm not, and it's not that big of a deal, but I just, it's just one of those examples of, I don't know what good it does him. I don't think there's any good that comes out of what he said over the weekend.
It's his character, I guess, but I would like to see a presidential acting president with Donald Trump's ideas. That would be great.
Well, yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I hope that we see a few more years of Donald Trump himself. And then, I think that's why a lot of us, and William, thank you for the call, I think that's why a lot of us are very, very anxious to figure out which direction he goes for vice president. Because it's more than just a vice presidential pick this time round. because Donald Trump will be limited in his ability to serve for just another 4 years. And so the expectation is that whoever is selected as vice president will be the heir apparent to the Trump legacy in 2028. And I know it's crazy talking 2028 before we even get into the meat and potatoes of 2024, but I think that's why there's so much anticipation as to who he decides on. And he could go in so many different directions. He could go Tim Scott. He could go Kristi Noem. He could go Carrie Lake. He could go, I mean, there's just all manner of different directions he could go. And I could name 100 others, really. And I think that's why there's anticipation. Will that individual be ready, willing and able to continue this concept of bringing America into focus as our first, our second, and our last consideration on anything? It's amazing how leftist in the mainstream media and leftist in Washington, D.C., but I repeat myself, it's amazing how they've attempted to turn the term MAGA into a negative. And I do believe somewhere in a boardroom somewhere they decided that, we can turn MAGA into Nazi. That's what they're trying to do. And they treat us like we're stupid. MAGA, make America great again. What does that mean? That means put America first in our thoughts and in our hearts regarding what we do as a nation. Not what we do as a people even necessarily, because I think there should be some considerations even before the United States of America as individual people. Your faith, your family, and your country. But make America great again, that entire concept is to put American interests first with regard to policymaking decisions on the part of our nation's elected representatives. Right now, the Biden administration is showing us what happens when we put American interest second. Second, when it comes to decision-making about Ukraine. Second, when it comes to decision-making about the southern border. Second, when it, or even, I say second, I don't know that they're considering American interest at all. Everything they do, it seems that they are putting America and its people on the back burner in favor of the others. Whether those others be illegal alien migrants from parts unknown or other nations and their best interest above and beyond ours, or, nebulous concepts like climate change. Well, we understand that there are real energy policy needs. We understand that there will be rolling blackouts, et cetera, et cetera. We understand that it's going to put us back to the Stone Ages. But, we really have to consider the planet. Mother Earth is suffering. What? Can we just get some energy policy that'll lower gas prices, please? And in the midst of all this, you have this dunderhead.
The Super Bowl Sunday. If you're anything like me, you like to be surrounded by a snack or two while watching the big game.
By the way, as you're listening to this, I hope you've seen it. If you've not, look me up at Matt Murphy Show on social media, at Matt Murphy Show on the X machine, and you can find this clip. This is a 48-second clip that by my count, they had to edit 13. They had 13 separate edits. 13 separate times they had to cut away because Joe Biden couldn't do it all in one take. 13 separate clips.
The Super Bowl Sunday. If you're anything like me, you like to be surrounded by a snack or two while watching the big game. When buying snacks for the game, you might have noticed one thing. Sports drinks bottles are smaller. A bag of chips has fewer chips, but they're still charging it just as much. And as an ice cream lover, what makes me the most angry is that ice cream cartons have actually shrunk in size, but not in price. I've had enough of what they call shrinkflation. It's a ripoff. Some companies are trying to pull a fast one by shrinking the products little by little and hoping you won't notice. Give me a break. The American public is tired of being played for suckers.
Yeah, we are.
Companies to put a stop to this. Let's make sure businesses do the right thing now.
So
that man is an absolute economic illiterate.
So, Bell, what's your outside of the the true statement that he's economically illiterate. What's your takeaway from that? Companies are just being mean, Bell.
Well, they were doing that too when the gas prices were really high. They were just being corporate.
Greed.
Yeah, but I never saw a single tweet how they become altruistic when the prices came down.
Mm-hmm.
That is just pure stupidity, because when you put in place policies that cause inflation to the point that he did, and we have prices that are up 17% since he took office, one of two things is going to happen. Either the quantity/quality of the product will be decreased to save the company money, or the price will go up so that they don't have to absorb these exorbitant costs that he's inflicted on the economy.
You got that knowledge of economics from a public education, did you? Good for you.
Oh, well, okay.
No, that's good. Because that's exactly right. What are companies to do when prices go up, when the cost of production goes up, when the cost of doing business goes up, when the value of a dollar goes down, creating the need for more of it to pay for those things that they need to manufacture their products? What are they supposed to do? They either have to raise the price or lower the volume or the quality. That's it. Those are their only options. And Joe Biden blames the companies as opposed to putting the blame where it ought to be, on his administration for causing the inflation to begin with by infusing the American economy with so much fake money that our inflationary rates couldn't do anything but go up. More coming up on this, plus Joe Biden blathering for 5 minutes. It's 1:33 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Savory Spice has 2 locations to serve you. You know, when I shop around, I want local, and you get that with Savory Spice. And I also want high quality, and boy, oh boy, do you get that when you shop at Savory Spice. Let's talk about both of those aspects of what they do on a daily basis. Now, first, I'll tell you, they're located in L&L Market in Nashville on Charlotte Pike, convenient to anyone in the city of Nashville. If you're a little south of the city, they've got a shop on the square in Franklin, just next to Gray's Pharmacy. Savory Spice. Holly and David are owners and operators of Savory Spice. And what do? They sell salts, they sell peppers, they sell spices of any shapes and sizes of all. Just anywhere in the world that you can think of, the types of food that you might find anywhere in the world, you can find those spices at Savory Spice. You find staples and you find those brands that you don't see anywhere else, and all of them are of the utmost quality to make sure that you know what's going into your body. Plus, they've got blends. For those of you who don't know your way around the kitchen, you can find your way around a kitchen by going to Savory Spice first and talking to those guys about the things that you need to up your food game. You know, you up your food game when you get to a certain age, because you don't want to eat trash anymore. You want to eat well. Well, you up your food game by upping your spice game. And let me tell you, you up your spice game at the one and only Savory Spice. 2 locations, Franklin and right here in Nashville at L&L Market. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Let's start with a question. What's in your body? What is inside of your guts? What's in your stomach and your intestines? Let's face it, just like me, you're full of it. Did you know that toxins build up in your body that suppress your immunity and your ability to absorb nutrients and fight illness from everywhere, from the air we breathe to the food we eat? And that waste can also cause you to prematurely age. It's fraught with peril. You can feel bloated. You can feel sluggish. I want you to change your body's experience with a youthful cleanse from Members Nutrition. It's a brand new sponsor of the Matt Murphy Show. We're so proud to have them. I met with the owners of Members Nutrition last week, and I'm so proud to be able to present to you an opportunity for you to cleanse your body in a natural way. Now, take control of your health and do so in a way that's made in the USA. This was very important to me when I sat down with the gang at Members Nutrition. These are natural supplements. This is natural nutrition. This is a natural cleanse that's made right here in the good old USA. It removes stored waste and toxins. It cleanses the colon. It cleanses the liver. It restores your gut health and your balance. It promotes weight management, so much more, and it enhances your immune system in the process. It's a youthful cleanse from Members Nutrition. I'm going to tell you a lot about these guys over the coming days and weeks and months, but I want you to go find out more for yourself at membersnutrition.com. That's membersnutrition.com, and tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Members Nutrition. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, speaking of nutrition, and I was just speaking of nutrition, I want to offer a personal thank you to my good friend and radio colleague, Bell K, who is executive producer of the radio broadcast. We call him Headless Bell because he refuses to make any appearances on the television side of things, but now that I've seen the many warrants, I kind of understand that. That said, voice disguised though it may be, he does regularly appear on the radio side of things. And every so often, he surprises me with a present. And you gave me a gift today, and I want to thank you for it.
Yeah, I was actually stopped to get myself some seltzer water because I keep it under my little workstation out there. And I was walking down that aisle, and I saw that. And, of course, first thing I think of is you.
So it is a box of, I can't do anything but give them a free plug here. It's a box of Duncan Hines cake mix, but it is a particular brand. It is Dolly Parton's favorite yellow cake mix right there. And there's a picture of Dolly. And if you look at this box, I'm holding it up on the TV side of things. If you look at that box long enough, you'll see a piece of cake. And I will admit that I made several jokes that are not airworthy about the fact that it says there's a picture of Dolly here, and right over here it says perfectly moist.
Yeah, with the negative.
That's what it says.
With the negative impact that word supposedly has on people, you'd be surprised that Duncan uses that for marketing.
Well, it is moist.
Yeah, but that's supposed to be the most disliked word in the English language.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Really?
Huh. Supposedly.
I dislike supposedly more than moist.
Irregardless.
I love a good use of irregardless because it makes people so mad. I always liked the you know what my least favorite word?
What?
Ointment. Ointment.
Yeah.
I prefer salve, and I will pronounce the L. But anyway, thank you for the Duncan Hines. That's very sweet.
Remember that that's
but
not
I'm not allowed.
making.
That was what Bell said, is that I'm not allowed to make with this. I have to.
That's a display piece for the office.
I have to put this in the. I'm going to take a picture and show you where it's going to go prominently on the desk.
Okay.
In the office when I get it home. Brenda is in Mount Juliet. Brenda, thank you for your call. Hey, Brenda.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, is this Brenda? Brenda. Uh-oh.
Yes.
Hey, Brenda.
Are you there?
I'm here. Yes, ma'am.
I am on a bad road. We were talking about Biden, and I 100% agree that he is having some mental issues. But, my concern is, where is his wife? Why doesn't she step up and not allow this to happen? Because, I mean, to me, she's just sitting back and letting him make a fool of himself, make a fool of the office. I mean, if he's not able to understand what he's doing, she should step in his defense and stop where he cannot be continuing to make these statements and make the office look like a fool and make himself a joke to everybody.
No, I've asked the question of my circle of family and friends, and I've asked the question of the listening audience in the past too, Brenda, and that is exactly what is Jill Biden thinking, allowing, it was one thing, I could conceive of a world, let's pretend that she's immune to all of the political criticism. I can conceive of a world where she felt like Joe wanted one last hurrah in 2019, wanted one last opportunity to go for it in 2019. But even if you compare what was going on in 2019 with what's going on today, it is a world of difference in terms of his mental cognition. And I can't for the life of me understand somebody that would put their spouse through what he's about to go through and what he's already going through, considering his mental decline.
I agree. And I think, it's unfortunate because he doesn't understand. I don't think he realizes what all he's doing. And she is just not coming to his defense to say, no, something's wrong, and we need to figure out what it is and keep him from doing this. Because, he really is just making a fool of himself and the country when he does some of the things he does.
Well, his inability, great examples, and I'm about to play 5 minutes of it, Brenda, but great point and a great telephone call. Thank you for making it, and you keep them straight between the lines there on that back road. He could not manage. He was offered an opportunity to have roughly 15 minutes of free airtime prior to the Super Bowl. Now, I don't have any love for these Super Bowl spots that the president would do, these interview pieces, because it's typically a fluff, and I don't, whatever. And I don't gravitate to something of that nature for politics. Look, I live in a political world, and now more than ever, everything is cloaked in the umbrella of politics. Sadly, we don't seem to be able to get away from it. I can't have a damn beer without worrying about it. So I don't necessarily have anything for a Super Bowl presidential interview. But Joe Biden is being handed 15 free softball fluff minutes for him to make his case during a presidential year, and he chooses not to take it. Why? Why would you do it? Okay, real quick, I'm going to call an audible. Bell, I don't know what channel you're currently on. There's a briefing that just started in Houston, Texas, regarding this Texas church shooting involving Joel Osteen's church. I want to try to jip this if you can. Thank you. Thank you. Very good.
These include technical resources as well as personnel resources.
Douglas Williams, FBI special agent in charge of the Texas situation.
Evidence response teams, victim service specialists, just to name a few. Yesterday, we deployed all of those resources and will continue to support HPD for as long as it's needed. In the meantime, if anyone has information about Sunday's shooting at Lakewood Church that they'd like to share, we'd ask that you please contact the Houston Police Department and share the lead, as they are the lead investigative agency. Again, the FBI is assisting, and we will continue to assist our partners here for as long as needed. Thank you very much.
That's the FBI special agent in charge as this Houston, Texas press conference is going on.
Thank you, Mayor.
I want to keep it right here for just a moment. It's a big story.
I'm Kevin Lilly, chairman of the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission. First, I'd like to offer my sincere condolences to the congregation of Lakewood Church and to Greater Houston. As the mayor said, our places of worship are both sacred and safe, and all Texans grieve what happened at Lakewood Church yesterday. And indeed, when the sanctity of a church is violated, or any house of worship, that is an attack on the very foundation of this nation. And so we are so grateful for the action of our Houston police officer involved, as well as TABC agent Adrian Herrera, who were the officers on the scene, and their actions working together to neutralize the suspect, as the FBI said, saved lives. You know, the term hero has been used today, and sometimes it's said flippantly. But I think what happened yesterday was the personification of heroism and valor, in which a total disregard for your own safety, saving others before yourself. Chief, I was talking to a couple of your deputy chiefs yesterday, as well as some of the FBI agents, and they spoke almost in great respect of the fact that these two officers held their ground. They held their ground in the face of rifle fire at point-blank range. And they continued to fire until the perpetrator was neutralized. And they did not yield. And they remained there as a wall. Agent Herrera and the HPD officer involved were a gauntlet. They were a wall that existed between worshipers and terror, between freedom of religion and murder. And we should all be mindful of the sacrifices that our men and women in law enforcement make every day. It is a profession of the highest honor. I just thought this morning that if your son or daughter came into your living room tonight and said, "Mom, Dad, I want to be a cop. I want to be in law enforcement," you should receive that.
I'll tell you what we're going to do, because we've got some volume issues on that channel that we're utilizing. We're going to, while he's talking, I don't know why the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commissioner, Kevin Lilly, is talking. Just get him out of there. Just go ahead and pull him down. I don't know why we're listening to him necessarily, but we know that a 7-year-old child is in critical condition, and that 7-year-old child was a child brought by the perpetrator of the event at Lakewood Church yesterday. I'm going to give you a breakdown of all of this coming up in just after the 2 o'clock hour, but we've got a quick break to take. We'll see if we can't get a better feed, and if anything of import, we'll monitor it. What do you got?
I'm sorry. Did the perpetrator shoot the kid?
No, they think. Well, that's what I want. I wanted to find that out. There was questions. The perpetrator brought the child and had the child next to her or him.
Oh, so that might have been hit by the police.
Might have been hit by the police. But regardless, the individual involved in bringing the kid to the place of worship was responsible for the kid getting shot. The first responders obviously were doing what they had to do to save untold amounts of lives. So it's too early to determine the motives of the shooter, according to the Houston Police Department, and there was some chemical spray being engaged. Actually, I tell you what, I'm curious what this guy might have to say. I want to get to questions, but this is a police officer on the scene, Houston. I don't know if that's chief of police or just pull him back up. This is the commander of Houston Police Homicide.
Where we're at, what we've accomplished so far, and what we're going to be doing moving forward. All right. Please be mindful. We are approximately 24 hours into this investigation. It's very fluid, and the investigators under my Special Investigations Unit have been working around the clock and gathering information this entire time. So Sunday, yesterday, February 11th, at 13:53, at 1:53 p.m., we had an individual pull up in front of Lakewood Church on the west side of the building off of Timmons. She gets out of her white vehicle. She opens the door, pulls out the 7-year-old child out of the back seat, as well as a bag that is with her. She goes, she confronts a security guard who lets her in along the west side of the building. At 1:55 p.m., she immediately starts firing inside of the hallway on the west side of Lakewood Church. She's in the hall, not in the sanctuary. Multiple rounds are fired by her, at which point Officer Moreno of the Houston Police Department, working an approved extra job at the location, as well as TABC Agent Herrera return fire, and the exchange is all there on the west side of the building, in the hallway. Multiple shots are exchanged by all three. She eventually falls to the ground. The 7-year-old child falls to the ground as well from gunfire, one gunshot wound to the head. Like has been mentioned earlier today, he is in critical condition at this time. And at 2:07 p.m., she is pronounced deceased by Houston Fire Department personnel. Other things that we know at this point in regards to the investigation. Our shooter is identified by driver's license as Genesee Moreno, 36 years old, Hispanic female. There are some discrepancies. We do have reports she used multiple aliases, including Jeffrey Escalante. So she has utilized both male and female names, but through all of our investigation to this point, talking with individuals, interviews, documents, Houston Police Department reports, she has been identified this entire time as female, she, her, and so we are identifying her as Genesee Moreno, Hispanic female. There were 2 weapons of hers recovered on the scene, an Anderson Manufacturing AR-15, which was what she utilized to fire at the officers. There was a sticker on the buttstock of the rifle that stated Palestine. A sticker simply stated Palestine on the buttstock. Also within the possession of her, near her, what she brought in, according to video, and she had in a bag, was a .22 caliber rifle by Blue Line Solutions. She had that. She brought that in. She did not fire that weapon. We do have her vehicle. We are in possession of that. We will be processing that and see if there is more evidence. We want to thank our federal and state partners for their assistance in helping process the scene. We have uncovered some items. We do have some anti-Semitic writings that we have uncovered during this process, but like I said, we are 24 hours into it. It is very new. We are getting new information as the hours change, and so we are going to be delving into that more.
All right, Bell, I know we've got a quick timeout to take. A lot of information came out of that few minutes. There was a sticker on the gun that said Palestine. We had heard Free Palestine prior to that, but according to Christopher Hasing of the Houston Police Department, it was Palestine. We got our answer as to why the ABC agent was up there, the Alcohol Beverage Control Board. One of the individuals that fired upon this woman was an ABC agent. So we have that answer. The shooter's identified as female, but has used both male and female names over the last several years. All of that to be dissected by us in moments. We've got a quick timeout to take. It's 1:55. You're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Well, it's as simple as this, friends. With Kraft Body Scan, you can get, during the month of February, a heart and lung scan for you and a loved one for $99. This value is the value of this scan is almost $3,000, and they're offering it for the month of February for only $99. Is that not an incredible value? Of course it is. It's a unique opportunity to take a vital step in preventative health care as well. For Valentine's Day, you can go beyond the traditional gifts and give the gift of health and longevity to your loved one with a comprehensive heart and lung scan from Kraft Body Scan. Early detection is so key in managing health care. Kraft Body Scan's advanced technology offers a detailed view of your heart and lungs, helping you to identify early indicators and to get better health outcomes as a result of that identification. Or better yet, you get the thumbs up and you and your loved one sleep better over the holiday weekend, over the Valentine's Day holiday weekend. Thank you to Kraft Body Scan. Also, It's American Heart Month, and we want you to be aware of your heart health at Craft Body Scan. Go to craftbodyscan.com for more information. That's Craft Body Scan, or better yet, go ahead, make the call, make the appointment for you and your loved one, and give the gift of good health awareness. 615-436-1000, 615-436-1000 for Craft Body Scan.
Good afternoon. It is 2:01, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds and rain, 48 degrees. We'll have that forecast for you in a few moments. Still no sign of Kenneth DeHart, the man police say killed the East Tennessee deputy. His name, Greg McGowan. DeHart also reportedly injured Deputy Shelby Eggers. Meanwhile, Deputy Greg McGowan's cruiser is now covered in flowers, a standing memorial in his community.
I just came unglued when I first looked at it. So it's very emotional.
There is a $100,000 reward being offered for information leading to the arrest of DeHart. Former President Trump in federal court today in Fort Pierce, Florida, for a hearing on his classified documents case. Trump and his two co-defendants, his valet bodyguard and the property manager at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, are all criminally charged with mishandling federal documents. ABC's Catherine Falders is in Florida.
The judge overseeing this case, Judge Cannon, has said that next month in March, when the both parties, Special Counsel Jack Smith and Donald Trump's team, when they get together for a conference, that she will likely set the new trial date then. It seems all but certain that this is not going to go to trial in May.
A Nashville man has died from injuries sustained in a crash last week, and now charges are pending against the driver involved. Metro Police report that 84-year-old James Petty of Nashville died on Sunday at Vanderbilt's Medical Center. The investigation shows that Petty turned left from Wallace Road onto Nolensville Pike when he was hit by a northbound Toyota Corolla. The 21-year-old driver of the Corolla has not been identified and remained at the scene, however. The officers report that he did not show any signs of impairment, but the investigation continues. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
You know, when it comes to heating and air conditioning, obviously this is a technical piece of equipment, and I don't have a lot of knowledge about how to fix it, but I do know the people that do. And I impart trust to you in this regard because I trust Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. I believe in the way that they do their business. I've sat down with Jeff. I've talked to him about how he does his business. I've talked to him about some of the things he has to overcome in the industry itself because sadly, the default position for most heating and air conditioning companies is to just recommend that you replace your unit. I mean, that's the reality. And sometimes Jeff's going to tell you that too, because sometimes it's time to replace that unit. And when that time comes, Efficient offers free financing on your next unit. Ask them how you can qualify for that. Plus, they're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric. They're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. They can assist. But his first inclination and his first focus is to fix what ails your heater and to get it back up and running again for the winter months leading into spring. That's what he's obsessed with at Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling, and that's what he's going to help you with. That's how I know that you can trust Jeff Eddy. Give him a call today. If you've not already written this number down, write it down for when you need him. 615-784-4424, 784-4424, or efficienthvac.net, efficienthvac.net. All right, we're listening to information coming in right now regarding the shooting happening at Lakewood Church in Houston, Texas. That would be Joel Osteen's church. Most of us know this church. It is an incredible, it's a large-scale, referred to as a mega church. I don't like referring to it that way. It's just a big church with almost 16,000 people attending services on the regular, as many as 45,000 people attending services, as many services as they have on any given weekend. And yesterday, an individual descended upon the church and fired multiple rounds inside of the church itself, but not inside of the sanctuary. And we were watching a press conference that was going on, try to fill in some of the details. A couple of things we know. The individual involved is female. The individual involved has claimed to be at various times in their life male and or female. It's not believed that this person utilized like female pronouns or whatnot, although that remains to be seen. But this person did claim to, she used a name that was male. And so the speculation is that possibly she could be someone who was transitioning, not known whether or not that's true at the time. But the shooter used both male and female names. No word on whether or not the shooter used both male and female pronouns. Palestinian, or the word Palestine, was found on a sticker on the gun being used at the scene. Multiple rounds were fired inside. The police have now said that they've uncovered anti-Semitic writing of the shooter. No word on whether or not that was on scene or they did any background. The shooter brought a 7-year-old child with her. I'm going to refer to the shooter as her because the shooter is a biological female. And there's some confusion about that. Shooter is a biological female, and the way that I know that is because the police are now reporting that the 7-year-old child brought to the scene by the shooter was the shooter's child. There is no amount of hell good enough for someone who would do this to a 7-year-old. If my speculation is correct, and I have no reason to believe that my speculation is not correct, that this woman brought her 7-year-old child along with her to act as a human shield. Sadly, by the way, the suspect, we're being told, has been arrested 6 times in the last, I want to say 10 years. That might have been since 2004. I just saw that crawl across my screen. I'm watching as some of the information comes across one of my monitors here in the studio at Supertalk 99.7 WTN. So let me reset, and we'll continue along these lines. So if you have any thoughts on this situation, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. You can either get those thoughts in through the phone lines or through the super text line, which, as always, is up and running. So it seems as if this was a religiously motivated crime based on the activity going on in the Middle East as a result of the vicious, brutal, terroristic attack that Hamas engaged in against the state of Israel, considering some of the evidence that we now know about. We know that a Palestine sticker was found on the shooter's gun, that there was anti-Semitic writings found by the shooter, by police officers. They're investigating that. Understand this is just a 24-hour-old story. So some of this information may change. Some of it may change. I'm trying to only give you things that we know. We know that the 7-year-old child was brought by the shooter into Lakewood's church. This was, for those of you unfamiliar with Lakewood, and I don't pretend to be that familiar with the place, but I've done a little bit of research. This is an old basketball arena that was converted into what is referred to as a mega church. And they did this. They repurposed the facility, did Joel Osteen and his following, because of the amount of people that have been attending the church. Osteen took a parish, Lakewood, that was run by his father, and it has exploded under his tutelage and under his, what's the word, pastorship, his stewardship as pastor of Lakewood. So the shooter utilized male and female names. No word on whether or not he, quote, or she, quote, identified as a he. Remains to be seen. And I just want to clean that up because initially it seemed as if this was yet another in a laundry list of individuals identifying as transgender or gender fluid that would add to the concern and the possibility that we've got a trans movement that is radicalizing younger people. Well, this person is not that young, has been known to authorities, has been arrested by authorities on multiple occasions. Todd writes in and says, was she legal? I don't know. Hispanic, certainly. Legal, I've not seen. Maybe that's out there. 3581 says a giant church with no pastor. Joel Osteen is not an ordained minister. Well, I'm not here to defend Joel Osteen. My initial thought was I don't think Jesus Christ was an ordained minister, but whatever. I mean, I don't think he was he? I don't believe so either. So, I mean, I'm not trying to get in that fight. 3581, don't at me, bro. I'm not trying to get into that fight with you. I understand. I'm not defending Lakewood Church. I'm not condemning Lakewood Church. I'm offering no commentary whatsoever because I understand that is a delicate and controversial subject amongst faithful people. That Joel Osteen is not teaching biblically, and what is it called? He teaches. What is it called? Bell wouldn't know because he's a heretic. What is it called? It's called. I just did that to get your reaction. It was delicious. It was exactly what I had hoped for. Is what it was. He teaches. Osteen teaches prosperity theology. Is that right? I think that's right.
How would I know?
3183 says, I think the Super Bowl food talk was better and less depressing. Prosperity gospel. Thank you. Prosperity gospel. And Eric says Jesus was a Lutheran. I thought Jesus was a Christian.
He was a Catholic.
I'm just kidding. I don't mean to kid. I shouldn't kid with such serious matters going on. So it's not a discussion about the faith of the church itself. It's the fact that this person obviously saw this as a symbol of the Christian faith. Prosperity gospel. I got it. Thank you, everybody. Oh, boy. Here they come. 9090. I was just kidding. It was a lot of people are now mad at me because I said that Jesus was a Christian. I know Jesus was a Jew. I know. I promise. I am not the most faithful person in this room, and I'm the only person in this room. So I understand that I fall short, and I have a tremendous amount of shortcomings. I get it. I was trying to make a joke. Lighten up, people. because for some reason, instead of focusing on the big stuff, the reason I made the joke is that there were several that were focusing on how Joel Osteen was not a real Christian and he didn't teach a theology that they agreed with. I think that's kind of beside the point at this point, okay? You had someone that was shooting up the place or attempting to shoot up the place, and thank God, here's the point. Here's the big story. Here's my big headline, okay? Good guys with guns. Good guys with guns. Good guys with guns. Now, I don't know how much we'll be hearing about these good guys with guns on #NeverCNN. I imagine they'll focus on, how did this person get the weapon? How did that person get the weapon? All of that sort of thing.
The fact that it was an AR.
Oh, was it?
Well, they had two guns.
Right.
The ones that they used that actually they fired was an AR.
There was one that was like a .22 rifle, I want to say. I think that's right. So, my big takeaway from this is that thank God that there were men, could have been women, but these happened to be two men that were there in an off-duty capacity. I don't know if they were specifically employed by the church. I think that's the case. One way or the other, they were obviously allowed to carry their weapons with them within the church so as to protect the 16,000 or thereabouts who were leaving worship. They were transitioning from an English-speaking service to a Spanish-speaking service. They were getting ready to get all the folks out of the English-speaking service and get the folks into the Spanish-speaking service. In the midst of all of that, this person opened fire. Two good guys with guns took down the assailant, and it seems like we don't really have the report, but because they're being vague on this, I think we can extrapolate that possibly one of the individuals involved hit the child. If that is the case, then we blame the mother. We don't blame the two people who were trying to protect the church. We don't blame the two people that were trying to protect innocence. We blame the woman that brought her 7-year-old child into the line of fire, seemingly intentionally, in order to prevent others from firing back. One would presume, and I think it's a safe presumption, that that was her point. We thank God that there were people who were in church who were there ready, willing, and able to lay their lives down on the line in an effort to save others. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. It's 2:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Back in a moment. I promised you Joe Biden, delicious Joe Biden audio, or at least as much uninterrupted as I can guarantee, and we'll go for that in just a moment on Super Talk. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy here. You know, it's an election year. I don't know if you knew that or not. A lot of people are wondering about what's going to happen in the stock market. I want to tell you about a brand new workshop Paul Winkler is working on. It's called Politics and Portfolios, How to Invest During Election Season. And you can register at paulwinkler.com/election. Now, I'm a client of Paul Winkler's. I met with him last week, as a matter of fact. And I'm also required to tell you that I'm paid to do these commercials. If you thought that I worked for free, that's not true. I do get paid. Now, if you listen to enough of the Talking Heads, you're going to hear conflicting stories. Should you be looking to hold out of the market right now because of the election year? Should you be looking to buy? Should you buy early? What will happen if Biden wins? What will happen if Trump wins? Well, in this workshop, Paul's going to walk you through all of the historical data and look at the facts. You might be surprised by some of the conclusions. I want you to go to paulwinkler.com/election. That's paulwinkler.com/election and registered for this brand new webinar. It will be live and online February 23rd at 12 noon, high noon. Don't worry. If you can't make it live, they will send you a link so you can watch the replay. It's times like these that we need people like Paul. We need to understand history, and we need to understand all facets of the market as it applies to the election year. This workshop is so timely. Register at paulwinkler.com/election. Once again, paulwinkler.com/election.
President Biden pointing fingers on the failure of the Senate border deal, and the manhunt for a cop killer continues. These stories at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, sir. 2308 says, here's a couple of questions. Why did the security guard let her in? I don't think that I don't know. I don't know the facility well enough to know one way or the other. But I would assume that there are not security personnel at every doorway at Lakewood Church. This has been much more of a controversial breaking news story than I thought it would be.
The police actually said that she went to a door with a security person and that person let them in. Now, if you're carrying a 22 and a AR,
I don't understand that.
Those are not under your dress.
I don't.
So I would assume
I don't understand
that they basically were like, I have this gun and you're letting me in. And that may be one of the reasons they stopped her so quickly, because that security guard let her in and then radioed somebody. And that's a guess.
So maybe the security guard, we're completely in the arena of speculation at that stage. I would think that they would have some form of security personnel at every doorway because the facility is so large. Each service that they hold, and they hold multiple services every weekend, involves like 16,000 people. I think the arena holds like 16,000 people. So that's the answer to your first question, 2308. 2308 asks a second question. Why was this person walking the street if she'd been arrested multiple times over the last 10 years? That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I wish that it were not so. But it is so. 6 arrests since, I think, 2005. Number 3, the question, why do you keep harping about was it a tomorrow a man? How in the name of God is that relevant? You need to do better. What? I don't. 2308, please re-ask that question because I think we had a typo or something. Why do you keep harping about was it a tomorrow a man? Or what? The transgenderism came up because this person claimed male and female names, or what we would consider. She went by the name of Jeffrey. This was a woman. Why do you keep harping about whether it was a woman or a man? Okay. Because initially it was reported that this person was transgendered. As a matter of fact, let's see, 3811. You guys know the Lakewood Church shooter was a trans, right? That came in at 221. It's not definitive right now. If you're not listening, I can't help you, but we just went over this. So let me go over it one more time. Initially, it was reported that this person was born a woman, identified as a male. It does not look like that's necessarily the case, although we don't know right now. We know that this person, whose name I choose not to use on the radio, called herself, born a woman, had a kid was with her, 7-year-old kid. That's what we know. Called herself Jeffrey on occasion. So early reports are also that she was carrying a backpack and had a trench coat on, and once inside, she claimed she had a bomb. So what it might be, and once again, I'm purely speculating, if she walked up to the door, right? Bell, you're the security guy, and you don't have a gun on you. You're just security.
Right.
You're unarmed security. And I walk up to you, and you see that I have a gun, and I say, I've got a bomb on me. Let me in. You're probably going to try to get me as close to somebody with a gun as possible at that stage.
Without a doubt.
So that may be what happened, but that is pure speculation. And then 0692 says, it was a transgender. That is a person that has mental issues. Okay, so I don't know, and I'm not going to go down that road, except to say that if this person was, quote, transgender, then I will tell you that. If they're not, I'm going to tell you that too. I think it's way too often that I'm not going to engage in the same type of mental gymnastics and garbage that the mainstream media goes through on this, okay? If they're born a woman, I'm going to tell you they're born a woman. If they dress like a guy, I'm going to tell you that too. The mainstream media won't. If this person had psychotropic drugs in their system, I'll tell you that as much as we can find it out. I want to know more about the transgender shooter in Nashville, Tennessee at the Covenant School, but we can't find out that information. I want to know more about the transgender shooter in Aberdeen. We can't find that out. Colorado Springs, that person called themselves non-binary. Where's the information about those drugs in that person's system? Denver, Colorado, Iowa, and now Lakewood, all possibly having to do with some form of transgenderism, or in this case, I think more likely, at least what we know now, that this person had a problem with Christians because they supported Palestine. $4,500. Yes, we know that she was wearing a long top coat. I don't know. I can only report on it so much. I can't continuously repeat the reports for those that are just joining us or didn't hear it initially. So we're 24 hours into it. We will try to do our best. Perhaps during breaking news cycles, I should not look at the super text line because the super text line is infuriating right now. It is 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is exactly 2:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got rain and 48 degrees in Nashville and somewhat of an iffy forecast on the way, so hang on. President Biden today speaking at the National Association of Counties Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C., and praising the work done at local levels. The president, at one point during his remarks, mentioning the bipartisan border deal that was killed by some GOP lawmakers last week.
The MAGA Republicans, a minority, but a powerful minority, they went out and they killed the deal. My predecessor said he didn't like it. It was a loss for him. We have to end the political games, folks.
The search continues for the man who police say shot and killed a Blount County deputy in cold blood. A statewide blue alert remains in effect for Kenneth D. Hart. He is now on the TBI's most wanted list. The TBI, U.S. Marshal's Office, and other agencies have joined in the search since last Thursday. In the latest update, Blount County officials say DeHart is still on the run and could be anywhere at any moment. The sheriff of Blount County says that DeHart is armed and dangerous. Do not approach this man. Call 911. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Tennessee Men's Clinic on my mind, and I want to talk to you gentlemen out there who are perhaps feeling low down, run down, low energy, no energy, if you don't feel very good. As a matter of fact, if you feel a little rough, I want to talk with you about what Tennessee Men's Clinic can do for you, because they have urologists available for you. They have a system available for you where they can take a little blood work, they can give you an examination, and they can figure out what's going on in your body. And if you have certain aspects of your body that aren't what they should be, whether it's manifesting itself in low T or whatever it might be, then it's time to get it handled, folks, and it's time to do it with Tennessee Men's Clinic. Tennessee Men's Clinic can assist you. They've been doing this for thousands of men over the years. Since 2014, they've been there for you, and now they have 2 locations to serve you. One's in Midtown, as always, since 2014. The other brand-new location opened about a year or so in Cool Springs. Many men come in after other things have failed them. It is time to get right with your energy levels, right with your body, gentlemen. Get treatment today from the Tennessee Men's Clinic. 615-208-9090, 615-208-9090, or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. The Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief is located in Franklin. It's time, if you are in pain, that you made the call that so many others have made to the Dr. Gill Center. They have years and years and years and years and years and years and years of experience. As a matter of fact, I've done the math, and between Dr. Gill, Dr. Wendy, Dr. V, Dr. Dominic, and the rest of the team, they have well over 100 years of collective experience in chiropractic care, and it has advanced so much over these last 30 years since Dr. Gill has been in office. Dr. Gill has helped make those advancements a reality in Middle Tennessee. Advancements like chiropractic care, obviously, red light therapy, spinal decompression, their Class 5 laser system, all available for you, and all there to reduce pain in your body. So if it hurts in your back, neck, knee, hip, elbow, wherever it hurts, they can help at the Dr. Gill Center. Let's stop the pain today. Let's stop taking the pills, and let's stop considering surgery. Let's get to the Dr. Gill Center. They can help. 615-882-4838, 882-4838, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. All right, 24 hours after this attack at Lakewood Church, a lot of questions. There was a press conference. We gave that as much of a listen as we possibly could. No word on whether or not this person was in the United States of America legally or illegally. The name of the person is known to authorities. She, SCH, was a woman. Whether or not she believed herself to be male or whatnot will come out eventually. Whether or not that has anything to do with this case, obviously, will come out eventually. Right now, police have noted that she presented as a female. They have no indication that she was confused about that outside of the fact that she used male names on occasion. She used the name Jeffrey on occasion. Had a son, 7-year-old. That individual hit in the head by a bullet in crossfire because she brought that person on scene to use, we believe, that individual, that young person, as a human shield. It's a sad state of affairs. We thank God repeatedly that there were men that were willing and able to neutralize the threat that this person presented. And that's all I've got to say currently about that. I made a promise that I would deliver this to you, and I'm going to fulfill said promise. Here it is, 5 minutes of Stuttering Joe.
Anyway, and I don't want to, well, maybe choose my words. I was just thinking, anyway. But I just, look, I mean, Putin's kleptocracy, yeah. It was in January, after being elected. The late January, early February.
Sorry. I don't mean to laugh. I would have tried to.
It's not, we lead.
Actually kind of sad.
Just, well, I won't go into it. Here's what drives the driver in the states that are affected. Here's what you can do, the drivers. For 2 reasons. One, it's an impact that decades are in making, because inaction was there was inaction with the Department of from
it's really sad, actually.
From Charlotte, another line going from in Florida down to Tampa. The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to. Anyway, the idea that and Joan Shingang, I'm going to pronounce it, Shanga. But there's there to be beginning this effort and
it's worse if you're seeing it. By the way, I've got the video up.
I want to thank you as well for, but the nature, not Trump. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to look. A solid meeting with
halfway there, guys.
The, Los Angeles and what am I doing here? From the excuse me, they also increase corporate growth. They make a very good point. Here's the deal. $159 billion left. My plan is to make concrete. I know President. Excuse me. The leading tech companies like Anthropic.
Like what?
And I'm going to mispronounce.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to try.
Okay.
Beer brewed
Give it a
here,
try.
it is used to make the brew beer. It is refined. Oh, Earth Rider, thanks for the Great Lakes. By the end of a governing crisis, it's time to end it. These constant. Anyway, I'm going to be good.
Anyway.
Because that's why we cannot let this election be one where the same man who was president 4 years ago. I'll never forget. Well, I won't go into that. Anyway, I just think that.
I'll never forget. I won't go into it.
Florida Small Business Winner Award winner, Business Week winner. Now, it has to involve our institution. About the former Prime Minister like to take baths up that. Anyway, overruled to reinstate the 32nd freestanding, have 30 free. Just follow my orders here.
Just following my orders here. Nothing. Just following my orders here. 5 minutes, as promised, of the President of the United States of America fumbling and bumbling in quick cut fashion. If you don't understand why the special counsel involved in determining whether or not the former vice president, the then vice president, and a former senator engaged in illegal activity by collecting and keeping classified information against the law, because that individual, according to the prosecutor's own words, is, while genteel and nice enough, is unable to remember enough in order to be an effective defendant in his own case, and would come off as sympathetic to a jury as almost a doddering old man. There's 5 straight minutes that give you a clear understanding of what we're dealing with. Now, I understand that these are cuts, but I also understand this, and this is the most important thing to note. Every single one of those clips were from public appearances made while Joe Biden was either running for or serving as president of the United States of America. Every single one of those clips. And I've long stated, and I believe it's so important for us to understand the depth at which this mental infirmity goes. The best you're going to get are the few moments that you get with him in public. What you just heard, that's the best that it gets that day. I'm not even hating on the old man anymore. I'm afraid for this nation. What you just heard on any given day, that's as good as he's going to be. His handlers know when he's going to sit in front of the press. His handlers know when they're going to have media availability. His handlers know when he's going to have television cameras on him. And whether it's 5 minutes or 15 minutes or 25 minutes, they know when that's going to be at any given point. and they do what is necessary to get him as good as he can possibly be that day. Of course he's taking drugs. Of course he's on something. But it ain't working. It's just not working. I do not believe for a moment that the powers that be behind the Democrats are going to allow this to happen. I believe that they are trying to figure out whether they go one of two routes. I've said this since last April. Belkay, you are my testimony to this. Since last April, you and I have been talking on the radio, and since last April, I said, there's no way this man is going to be the presidential nominee, and I stand by it. He's not only a disaster as a president, my goodness gracious, his disastrous presidency will be nothing in comparison to his candidacy. It's already gotten off to this is just a debacle. It is very obvious at this point that Joe Biden is a serious problem for the Democrats. The special counsel report was as devastating as it comes. And his press conference afterwards only made it worse. So by now, you have to believe that at all costs, the deep state is going to protect itself. And in doing so, they have to throw Joe Biden over the cliff, off the bus. So if that's the case, who do you go to? Well, the problem is they want to jump over Kamala Harris, and they can't. And so now they have to figure out whether they go with Kamala or they go elsewhere. And if you go elsewhere, you better have a really good reason to do it, because Kamala Harris checks a lot of boxes for them. She is the ultimate DEI selection. Oh, by the way, noticing that they've now skipped. You notice that Karine Jean-Pierre's not. Did you see where John Kirby got promoted over the weekend?
Yeah, I didn't understand the promotion. Is he over her now?
Without saying so, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. But normally that would come with dismissing her, but they can't dismiss her because she's African American and she's a lesbian, and you can't ditch your DEI hires, and you certainly can't admit that it was a mistake. So they're not going to do that. I don't know that they can get away from Kamala Harris as their selection, and I think that would be even more so a disaster. And by the way, before I go, because I want to talk with Brian Wilson about what he's got coming up on the drive, and we'll do that in moments, I do not believe – stop saying it's Michelle Obama. It's not going to be Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama doesn't care about the nation enough to offer herself to public service, number one. Michelle Obama gets her ego stroked enough. Her ego is fed enough, so she doesn't need to run for public office in order to stroke that ego. And number three, Michelle Obama is too lazy to put in the work that would be necessary to become the next president of the United States. She is living off the fatted calf, as it were. She doesn't need all of that. She's living off the trimmings falling from the post-presidency of Barack Obama. And she doesn't care about the nation. I don't even think she cares about turning the nation into a socialist country enough in order to run. So I don't think it'll be Michelle Obama. I think it'll be Kamala Harris. I don't think they can get themselves out of that box. I don't think they can fight themselves out of that box. It's 2:50 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Winding down our portion of the day, 2:57, Super Talk 99.7, WTN. We hand off to the capable, the able, the mentally prepared, Brian Wilson. Not mentally infirm like our president of the United States. Hello, Mr. Wilson. How are you?
Hey, how you doing? I'm doing well. I have a question, though.
All right.
In what world does a guy get to bum rush his boss, body check him, and scream at him and still keep their job?
Where's me? I said last night, and I knew it wasn't going to happen, Brian, but when that happened, I said, how do you not sit him down? I mean, at least for a period of defined time to say, we're not going to put up with that. Sadly, it didn't happen, but I couldn't believe it.
Well, I couldn't either. I mean, if people missed it, Jason Kelce at the Super Bowl last night, body checked.
Travis.
I'm
yes,
sorry.
Travis. Travis,
okay,
yeah.
Travis. Excuse me. I get the Kelces mixed up. But he body checked his boss, the head coach, on national TV and was screaming at him.
Unbelievable.
And I said, apparently I'm reading today that there have been past issues. One time before, Andy Reid held on to his helmet and wouldn't let him go back on the field.
I had a hard time understanding how you get past that and getting back on the field. I mean, I understand they want to win a Super Bowl, and ultimately they did, and it's all well and good. But I mean, I couldn't believe it. Now, on a happier note, with regard to the Super Bowl, did you have, I don't want to get in front of the show, I don't know if you'll talk about this or not, but did you have a favorite commercial, Brian Wilson?
I like the one with Jennifer Aniston where, the deal was that an aide comes up to her with a bag of groceries and somehow there's an exchange where he says, well, to remember something, you have to forget something else to make room.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went through these whole series of very famous people who had forgotten something, including Jelly Roll, who said, looks like somebody scribbled on my face.
That was in my top five.
I just fell out of the chair on that one. I'm rubbing, but he won't come off.
My favorite was the Arnold. I just like Arnold, like a good neighbor. Well, Brian Wilson's coming up, and it's going to be a mystery because the music's in the background. It's a mystery to all of us what he's going to talk about. But I have a feeling that Joe Biden's going to come up. I have a feeling that presidential politics will be on the docket. I have a feeling that he might have something to say about the Super Bowl. We'll all find out together. Jay Harper's got the news first, however. Brian Wilson's after that with The Drive, and we'll be back tomorrow at high noon. Until then, have a wonderful afternoon, folks. Be safe out there. Some snow coming later on tonight. Hug your loved ones. We'll talk to you tomorrow.